moving on, we did want to do a quick loyalty draft. With all this talk about people trying to leave their teams, who doesn't want to leave their teams? Who are we in that they'll be with their teams for the next 20, 30 years? Who knows, for 100 million years, as long as they'll play. I guess. Do you want to go first, Rem? I mean, you can't take Wembanyama first. Who? I know you want to though, but who do you think? What player is most likely to stay with their team for the rest of their careers? Because I got a pretty clear number one pick.
Well, how specific do we want to get here? Because I mean, rip to Dame Lillard, obviously. Well, not officially yet, as we discussed, but the trade
Well, he asked
request.
for a trade, so he wants to
Yeah,
leave.
he's still on the team though. Like we said, who knows what happens? Anything is still on the table, I think, with Dame Lillard. But as of right now, seems like that tenure is coming to an end. But are we doing guys who are going to finish their career with their teams? Or are we doing guys who are going to be on one team for their whole career? Because I mean, there are guys that obviously could fit in both categories, but because of some of these superstar trades and because of some of the assets floating and going back and forth, like some of these young guys have already switched hands and changed teams pretty early on. So are we disqualifying anybody who's been traded? Is it just purely like, hey, like Dame, drafted by this team, you're with the team from day one, start to finish, all the way to the end? Are we being that strict about it? Because I think we should. I think that's Dame. That's what he was. He was drafted by Portland. It's not like they traded for him and brought him in after a couple of years. So I think anybody that got traded or just has changed teams should be disqualified. It should be start to finish, right?
So like Doncic and Young are taken off the board, or?
Well, that was a draft day trade. I think draft day trades count.
I think it's players who are least likely to request a trade, like, but reasonable players that like the team wouldn't get rid of as well. Like, you know,
So satisfactory rankings.
yeah, like, who's least likely to ask for a trade?
Who are the most
Like
content
legit
players in
stars.
the league? The content
Yeah,
rankings,
yeah.
the content superstar rankings. Because I don't know if we want to say names or not, but I mean, there's been a couple of younger guys that have
Hmm.
gotten traded, and yeah, they could play with that team for the rest of their career, but it's not like they were drafted by that team. Got there young, so their growing up years were there still. But is it still the same as Steph and getting drafted? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm probably saying picks, but Dame
No,
getting
all right.
drafted, Tim Duncan getting drafted, Dirk getting drafted, Dame Lillard, up until this point, getting
Hmm.
drafted, sticking with the franchise. Like, is it the same, even if they get there super early on? Like, is it the same compared to just getting drafted and getting him from the very
I don't
start?
know who are you thinking of?
Well, there's a couple of options for this, but I guess Shea is a good example. Shea was drafted
Yeah,
by the Clippers, played there for, I think, just the one season, and then
yeah.
was traded for Paul George. So he did all of his like growing up and all of his development up until this point in OKC. Yeah, he was just there for the Clippers for the one season, but
But that's
I
not
mean,
his
he
fault
wasn't
though.
drafted by OKC. He was another guy, draft day trade, but he was
Yeah.
drafted by the Hornets for one, but drafted by the Clippers. And then after his rookie season, traded to OKC. So is a guy like Shea on the table where that's a great situation? He could be very content there and potentially ride the rest of his days out in OKC. But I mean, he's drafted by the Clippers.
Yeah, but he didn't want to leave though. Like, or I don't know if he didn't affect the trade. He didn't. It wasn't his fault. He never asked for a trade. He was just chilling, and he got thrown in a package. So that doesn't. I don't think that counts in terms of that. Just because he never wanted to leave.
Okay.
He's not trade requesting. He's not a bad locker room kind of guy. It's not really his fault. So, you know, I think it should be contentment rankings. I think we can go through enough people who haven't been moved by their team at all since they've drafted. I think there's enough examples, but if it does get to that, I think if they didn't want to leave in the first place or ask for a trade request, then I think they can be still on the list.
Okay, maybe I could have used a different example. Right, that was not as high on my board, but it's fine. It's fine. The rules are clear now. NBA superstar contentment rankings. Are we gonna do we need to flip a coin?
I don't know. I mean, we can always. He's actually looking for a coin.
I thought maybe I had a coin, but it's fine. I'll just.
I don't know. Pick heads or tails.
Oh, he's screen sharing with me, so I can watch the coin flip.
Oh, okay. We can flip again. Flip again.
No, he's not cheating.
Did the Zoom just freeze?
No, it's still. I just don't think it's loading.
All right.
IT, fix it.
Yeah, I know.
Sam is trapped in the Zoom matrix.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, okay. We're going.
Okay. We're gonna do it. Okay, heads or tails. We're gonna do this right.
Heads. Always head.
All right. Well, heads it is. There you go. You get the first pick.
Well, if I have the first pick, I'm just going to go ahead and pick a guy that takes care of both, drafted by his team. Just in general, seems like the most chill, the most nonchalant guy in the league. I mean, what could make this guy unhappy? I don't feel like it matters. I feel like you could have just plopped this guy in any city and he's like, okay, I guess I'm just here for the next 20 years of my life. I mean, why would Jokic ever leave Denver? Like, they've already committed to pay him. He's there long term, just won the ring, didn't even care about winning the ring, blew everything off, did care about the parade by the end of it, but just the most chill guy, the most calm guy. And Denver has the pieces. Murray's young, Porter's young, Gordon's still there for a couple of years, and that situation is not going south anytime soon, mostly because of Jokic. But the organization has his back, and there's just no reason for him to leave. And of all the guys that you just go from a personality standpoint, who's the most unlikely to be upset? It just seems like Jokic. So easy number one for me.
Yeah, no, he's a runaway number one overall pick, and he was going to be my first pick off the board. So that is a great pick. Going with my number two. As much as you mentioned, another great teammate, another really chill guy, someone who I've kind of always wanted to be traded, but not because of what he does. Maybe kick him out the bay. We're going with Curry at number two.
Okay.
I think he'll. I mean, he's content with his team. I don't think he'll ask for a trade, but maybe he'll play a little bit for the Hornets. Who knows what happens there? But I don't think it's gonna happen anytime soon. But it won't be because of him.
You've changed your mind?
Now that they brought Draymond back, yeah. 4 years.
Yeah, I know, but the Draymond thing, doesn't the Draymond contract run in concordance with, I think that's the right word. Doesn't it end the same time as Curry's? I think it does. And if Thompson is in the last year of his deal, and he ends up signing a 3-year deal, and all of those guys' deals are set to expire. That's funny because you're the guy that put it in my mind. Curry has this season and then 2 more after that. So maybe I guess they don't run together perfectly. So You're right. He's staying long term. Lock it in.
Yeah, they're not. And especially once Bob Myers left, and it's pretty clearly because he wanted to break this up and they didn't let him. It looks like they're riding with the ship, and they're gonna sink with the ship. And especially if Kerr leaves, then at that point it's just they're sinking with the ship.
Well, what do we do now? I mean, these are the top 2. Can I do it? You said I couldn't do it at 1. Can I do it at 3?
What? Oh no, you can do it whenever.
Can I pick Wemby?
Wemby. Oh my gosh.
Can I take Wemby? I mean, I'm just looking around at the rest of the league, and there are some players that I guess from a personality standpoint, I could talk myself into, but a lot of those guys are on teams that I could just see the teams and the situations headed the wrong direction, and maybe long term there might be some unappealing rosters out there. The Spurs, the culture, the winning ways for so many years. I mean, can I do it this early and just say Wembanyama's going to retire a Spur?
I mean, you really want to. I highly doubt he's gonna move. That
The
is the
thing,
hope
who
that he
else
stays
is not
for.
moving?
Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's pretty stuck there, and I think the team wants to be stuck with him. Let's
I guess we'll
see.
know by your next pick, but I mean, is there anybody else? Is whoever else you're going to pick, like, would you rather have Wemby? Because like, just looking at the rest of the league, like, I just think that that's the most happy a guy could be in besides the Jokic situation. And honestly, like, with what you've been talking about the last couple weeks, besides the Curry situation, I would lean like it's like 80-20, 90-10,
Mm-hmm.
95-5. Like he's going to stay in Golden State. But I am a little bit more open now to the idea of him, even if it's just like one random season in Charlotte. Like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think I could see that happening. Maybe that happens with Wemby. Who knows how many years from now? But the Spurs as a constant organization are top notch. And that's not just me being biased. That's everybody knows that. So I just don't think that anybody could be more content in a situation besides the most, disconnected player we've had in the league this decade in Kawhi Leonard. Basically, everybody else has been happy in their time in San Antonio. I don't see why Wemby would be any different.
I think the only player there is one I think who could take the contentment ranking just because of the team's content with him. He's content
True
with them.
contentment
I don't know.
rankings.
I don't know. Last star you guys had, it didn't end out so great. Who knows? But
But it's
I
Kawhi
know,
though.
I
Like
know.
we've learned some stuff about Kawhi.
Yeah, but hey, look. Who knows? Who knows? The only other player would be I'd have to put close to that, maybe above it, is Giannis. I think Giannis
Okay,
at number 4. I think
that's
just
fair.
he's already won one. The town loves him, and I don't really see just the way he is. He's not great at connecting, networking with other players. He's kind of in his own bubble, and he kind of just wants to kill anyone who's not in a Bucks jersey. So um, I got to put him above Wemby just because of that. Obviously we don't know what we hope Wemby is the next Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but we don't know. We just don't know. So
Yeah. And Giannis, like he actually has played for the Bucks. Like he's been on the court
yeah,
for him and
exactly.
been out there and won them a title
Hmm.
and done all that stuff. So hey, that's
He is actually an NBA player.
yeah, he's actually done it, actually proved himself. So that's a pretty top heavy list, I
Yeah,
think. I think especially with Dame now too, like requesting the trade. You
yeah.
just you never know with any of these guys.
It's getting
I'm
shaky.
scanning through. I'm trying to remind myself too. It's contentment rankings. We're not doing the start to finish thing. I think I forgot about that with the Wemby pick, to be honest. But most content guys in the league, just who's going to stick around? This might be a bit of a reach, but Brunson really just likes New York. Like he just likes being in the
Good
city.
one.
He likes just being there. They tampered. They wasted a pick to get him. So it wasn't a waste. It was a second round pick. Totally worth
Mm.
it. Totally worth it. His contract, even more worth it. But all of, I think, the off court stuff with Brunson in New York, it's enough to attract him there. And I think it's enough to keep him around. Thank goodness for the Knicks because now it seems like they finally have their guy. So I'm picking a guy playing for James Dolan for the rest of his career with my third pick, picking him in the top 5. Kind of a wild card, I think, but I just think Brunson likes the city too much, and he left Luka and left that team in Dallas to go to just play with New York. I mean, it's not like playing. He left them to go play with Randall over Luka, or at least
Mm.
I would hope not. But I just don't see a situation as of now where he leaves. I think he just wants to live there and be there and hang out. So I'm taking Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, no, that's a good pick. I think that's a very I mean it's a good pick. The town loves him a lot.
Yeah,
He did all he could this past series and in the past playoffs, and it's kind of a tough exit for them, but we'll see. We'll see how it continues to develop. I don't after one season, I don't know about obviously it's gonna be hard for someone not to be content with how much love he's received from
That's true.
one of the biggest markets. I mean, probably the biggest market, but
All
you
of
know,
the free agency dinners.
yeah, I know. Jeez, free dinners. Um, I gotta go with another young guard from this time on the other side of the country. Recently had a playoff series, and I think people kind of forgot about their playoff run. Part of the, according to stats, best offense in NBA history. The De'Aaron Fox.
Oh,
I don't think he's going anywhere, kind of thing. I think he just kind of wants to grind with his team. I think he's really content with where he's at. Um, you know, it's I think it is. I mean, I do think Jalen Brunson is a better player than him, but I do think it's closer than people think. I mean, they were playing the Warriors.
it's close.
They had to go through a team that hadn't lost a playoff series against a Western team in what, like 4, 5, 6 years. So, and they took them to 7. So they're a really good young team. And now with this new going into the playoffs, getting rid of Halliburton, they really have an identity, which is kind of weird to say, but getting rid of, arguably a top 10 guard in the league, they are better, and they do have a path forward. Keegan Murray's looking crazy. Shout out. He's looked summer
Major
league
shout
all
out.
timer. He's cooking right now. So, it's going to be, we could see him take another step. And if Keegan Murray develops into a legitimate like option for them, then he could be a decent third option. So it's, and who knows what happens with Harrison Barnes, but then you have a decent 3 guys starting, 3 guys there. You have all the other pieces from last year. Mike Brown's still the coach. And, people got to stop sleeping on him. And, maybe I could go see him in person. Who knows? We'll give him the Samson in person championship love, right? That's the streak so far. Every time I visited a team at home, they've gone to win it all. So who knows? Maybe we'll.
Oh, is this like a new thing? This is like the Samson.
Well, the one time it happened one time.
Well, if it happens again, though, it becomes a thing.
Who
Then
knows?
there's something there.
Who knows? We'll have to see.
What is this league that our last 2 picks in the contentment rankings, the players that are most content on their teams, our last 2 picks, their owners were James Dolan and Vivek.
I mean, Vivek has really done a lot better. I don't know about Dolan. He just kind of got a little lucky, but Vivek really, he really brought in the right people. And really
10 years ago, I would have thought you were insane if you were like, hey, the most content guys in the league are going to play for James Dolan, and give the team to James Brolin. Just bring Thanos in to snap away Dolan, and then Brolin in there to run the team. I think Brunson is even more content at that point. I think he's sticking around for the long term. But him and Vivek back to back is pretty nuts.
No, it is wild.
Contentment rankings. Who is the most content guys? Let's stare into some of these guys' souls.
I get to the end of the list here.
Who is just not on the trade block already? Let's get that list out of the way. Who is just ungettable, and who's not also either a rookie or hasn't played?
I know. Miles Bridges? Mikal Bridges?
Miles, because nobody else is going to sign him?
Mikal Bridges. I don't know why I always mix them up.
I think they might be back to back. I think they both have a case to not go anywhere. Miles Bridges was not.
Dylan Brooks got signed. Hey, Dylan Brooks got a decent contract.
Dylan Brooks played last year and made it onto the basketball court. I think Miles Bridges is better than Dylan Brooks. But the next pick, I guess the next person in the contentment rankings will be, is Jimmy Butler going to leave South Beach?
I think there's always a chance. I mean, he was about to fist fight his coach in an NBA game.
Yeah. I don't feel comfortable picking Butler. Man, this is an insane list.
It's tough. And I think it's a big part to show, why the league is so hard now with these aprons, because, a lot of these guys could easily switch teams, and the league is trying to stop that.
But if Jimmy Butler does ever get mad at any point and is upset with what the Heat are doing or something, if he gets mad about anything, and ever thinks about demanding a trade, I think he's kind of take a step back, look big picture, and just remember that he's in friggin' Miami. And I think Jimmy Butler loves being in Miami. Jimmy Butler's a cool dude. So I don't see Jimmy Butler just leaving. I guess, you can live there in the summer. You can do your thing.
Yeah,
But
but it's
Jimmy
contentment
Butler's going to
rankings. It's
request a
not how
trade.
likely. It's not how likely he is. How happy is your star? How much do you have to worry about him? And Jimmy Butler is a little bit of a firecracker. He has his issues. We know that man can
Has a
blow up
pass.
sometimes. I mean, how many stars? I don't know how many stars I've ever seen want to fight their coach in an NBA time. Like, how many? It's like there has to be. That's like 3 guys at most. That's why he probably doesn't make the rankings. But just a quick reminder to people that it's the NBA. Anything can happen. People can move. Teams can change, and you never know where people are going to end up from year to year.
Here, I'll recap what we have so far for the loyalty rankings.
Oh yeah.
We have Jokic, Steph, Wemby, Giannis, Brunson, Fox. Is there anybody else most confident? Who are we just like super confident is very, very content in their situation and not going to leave?
Yeah.
Shea, I think, has to be up here just because that Thunder situation is so strong. That's why I brought him up earlier. Just there's a lot of young talent there. It's going to be a desirable place to play for a while. Who knows what the long-term future of that organization ends up being. So I think Shea, I feel pretty confident about. Tyrese Halliburton as well as another guy. Who else am I missing? Are you super confident in anybody else?
Not really. I just, it's just so many players that aren't really locked or 100% invested in their teams, or their teams aren't 100% invested in them. I mean, you look at the Suns, if this KD thing doesn't work out, he might want to leave. Booker might want to leave. Doncic might want to leave from his team. Who knows what I mean, they're obviously running it back with him and Kyrie, but last time that happened, he got out of the playoffs. Pretty much out of the playoff picture. And then, John Morant, are we sure that that's going to be a great relationship? And then, like we mentioned with the Celtics, Tatum, we have to wait for Jaylen Brown, and then we already talked about Joel Embiid. I mean, there's not a lot of set stuff. Like we mentioned, there's a lot of new talent in the league, a lot of new young guys, and we don't know yet whether they're going to want to team up, where they'll team up with, stay with their teams. But I think we did cover pretty much all the guys who we can be pretty much 100% sure on.
And just today as well, too, like the 2023 in the NBA, like requesting a trade is just the new norm for these guys. Like that's just what you do if you're unhappy in your situation. You just go, well, I guess I'm done here. I'll take the money, like the contract, whatever. But the last couple of trade requests now, it's just, well, we're just doing this because, we're no longer happy. We want to go somewhere else. We're just doing it to do it. Like that's what these players do now. So to go back to what we were talking about earlier with Dame, maybe even with Harden, just who knows with these guys. But at some point in this player empowerment era, not everything is going to work out perfectly for the player. And the players have been able to request the trades. And ultimately, there's been enough leverage and enough in the individual situations that the guys have been able to leave. The correct offers have been made. The trades have been made. But at some point, it's not going to happen. And I mean, Dame has continued to make it very, very clear that he is not committed to Portland, despite the fact that I continue to not see that. Like, if he's playing with Scoot and with Sharp and with Simons, like, there's just a lot of talent on that team. Like, who knows? So at some point, the player empowerment thing, like it's just the reverse Uno card is going to get played, and the guy is going to end up back on his team. He's going to end up playing with his team. Maybe he even just Lillard is like, let's just take Lillard for example. Like at some point, a guy's going to request a trade. There's going to be the whole drama thing, and he's going to go back, and he may even play out the rest of his contract on that team. Like if that just continues to be the new norm, like these things are going to happen. So at some, like, it might be the Dame situation. The Dame situation might be that situation. But just looking at the league in general, I think that's why the contentment rankings are so hard and why it's just difficult to say who is going to be in their team long term. Because if it just goes bad, well, you just request a trade. That's what you do now. That's the normal thing to do for an NBA superstar, is to just not leave. Well, when back in the day, the normal thing to do was just continue to take the contract with the team, despite the fact, and that got get some guys in trouble. You stay with the team for too long and they're not winning, and it's not a great situation. But that was the norm. This is the new norm. So that's why I think just looking at the league and saying who is going to be on this team, we can say with confidence, 5, 6, 7 years down the road. It's just the new norm is movement. The new norm is movement. These guys continue to move, but it is. I do think at some point it's not going to work out.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. It's so far. We thought we saw that a little bit earlier last offseason with KD not getting his trade request going through, but then they ended up blowing that up anyway. So it might be a little bit before the power goes back to the teams. I mean, with this new apron thing, I mean, now teams at least have an excuse for not making these trades, something to explain to their fans. So we'll have to see. It's definitely looks like the league's kind of shifting towards giving power to the teams because, I mean, they're the ones paying for these contracts, and they need some assurances that they're not just going to lose their guys and that they've invested so much time and training and all that into.